My fiancée slept with 3 guys at her bachelorette, so I exposed her in front of her family, canceled everything, and vanished without a trace. I'm a 32-year-old guy, and for the longest time, I thought love meant loyalty. Showing up, staying steady, being the kind of man who never gives a woman a reason to doubt him. That's how I loved Natalie. She was 29 when we met, vibrant, magnetic, always the loudest laugh in the room. We were introduced at a friend's rooftop party, and from the moment she rolled her eyes at my corny joke, I was gone. We talked all night about everything: movies, careers, childhood dreams. It felt like I'd known her in another life. Within 3 months, we'd practically moved in together. She left toothbrushes at my place, started ordering throw pillows, rearranged my spice rack. "It just feels right," she'd say, curling into me on the couch like we were puzzle pieces, finally connecting. And honestly, it did feel right. I'd dated before, but nothing like her. So I started planning the proposal. A candlelit dinner on the rooftop of the same building where we met, surrounded by a small group of close friends. I hired a string quartet. I had the waiter bring out the ring on a silver platter hidden inside a chocolate dome. When I got down on one knee, she gasped, covered her mouth, and said, "You're the only man I've ever truly trusted." Everyone applauded. Some even cried. But I remember this odd flicker in my chest. Not joy, not doubt, something, a tightness I couldn't name. I ignored it, chalked it up to nerves. That night, as we lay in bed, her head on my chest and her engagement ring catching the moonlight, I whispered, "We're gonna make it, right?" She smiled without opening her eyes and said, "Of course." What could go wrong? I didn't realize then that question would haunt me. And the answer was everything. The first cracks were quiet small things that didn't scream betrayal. Just whispered it, like how Natalie would always joke about her guy friends being hot. "If you ever mess up," she'd say with a wink, "Brandon's just a phone call away." I'd laugh it off, trying to play it cool, but deep down something in me would flinch. At first I thought it was my insecurity talking. Maybe I was being too sensitive. I didn't want to be the jealous, controlling type, so I let it slide. But then there were the late-night texts. She'd giggle to herself at 1 a.m., hiding her phone under the blanket. Just a meme from the group chat, she'd say, "I never saw what was so funny." One night I picked up her phone by mistake. We had the same model. She snatched it so fast you'd think I was holding a live grenade. "Privacy, babe," she said sharply, like I'd just crossed some sacred boundary. I apologized. I even felt guilty. That's how good she was at flipping the script. Then came the parties. She'd go out without me more often. Bachelorette trips, wine nights, just the girls' weekends. Whenever I asked who was going, she'd rattle off names so fast I couldn't keep track. Once, I overheard her tell her friend, "He trusts me too much." "It's kind of boring," she laughed. The friend laughed. I didn't. I tried to talk to her about it, once really talk. I told her I felt like I was being pushed to the edge of her life. Like I was just the man holding the title of fiancé, while someone else got the real parts of her. She kissed my forehead and said, "Stop overthinking. You're the one I'm marrying, aren't you?" I told myself she was right, but part of me wondered, was I the prize, or just the placeholder? If love is supposed to feel certain, then why did I feel like I was constantly convincing myself? Wedding planning should have been exciting, and for the most part, it was, at least on the surface. We toured venues, sampled overpriced cakes, argued about centerpieces. She wanted everything to be perfect: gold accents, live musicians, custom calligraphy on every invitation. "This is the biggest day of our lives," she kept saying. I nodded, smiled, paid the deposits, but something was off. She became obsessed with image posting everything online. From her dress fittings to fake behind-the-scenes shots of us cuddling with captions like, "Forever starts now," we'd fight about real things. Then she'd post a photo and call us couple goals. The disconnect started to gnaw at me. Was I building a marriage or a brand? Still, I pushed the doubts aside. Maybe this was just stress. Everyone said wedding planning brings out the worst in people. Then she dropped the bomb. She wanted her bachelorette in Miami. 5 days. No itinerary. Just vibes with her girlfriends. I hesitated. "Miami?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "That's a lot." She rolled her eyes. "Are you seriously going to be that guy?" I just thought maybe something more low-key. She cut me off. "You get a bachelor party. I get this. Trust, I deserve it." She said it with a smile, but her tone left no room for negotiation. That night, I stared at the ceiling, heart pounding. I told myself this was normal. I told myself she loved me, but it didn't feel like love. It felt like I was clinging to a promise I wasn't sure she remembered making. Still, I kissed her goodbye at the airport. And I told her, "Have fun, babe." I didn't know those would be the last words I said before everything shattered. She landed in Miami on a Wednesday. By Friday, she had stopped responding to my texts. At first, I wasn't panicking. She said they'd be out late, dancing, probably too drunk to check their phones. I wanted to believe that. I needed to believe that. But by the third day of silence, nothing but one blurry Instagram. The story of her holding a margarita and flipping off the camera. I felt something crack in my chest. Saturday night, I was sitting on the couch scrolling through my phone when a message popped up. It was from a burner Instagram account, no profile picture, no posts, just a single DM. "You deserve to know what she's doing." Attached were 3 screenshots from a group chat. Natalie was in it, clear as bragging about how it didn't count because it was her last week as a free woman. She mentioned 3 different guys by name. "3," one of the girls replied. "You're wild as hell." And Natalie responded with a devil emoji and gotta say goodbye to single life the right way. I sat there, frozen. My mouth went dry. I clicked the next message. It was a video. Grainy, dark, loud music in the background, but unmistakable. Natalie, in a VIP booth, straddling some guy I'd never seen before, her hands in his hair, kissing him like she was starving. I didn't move. I didn't blink. I watched it again, and again, and again. My heart wasn't racing. It was quiet, still, numb. I didn't call. I didn't scream or cry. I just sat there, staring at the woman I thought I knew, and realized I never really did. And in that silence, something in me began to die. She got back from Miami like nothing had happened. I picked her up from the airport. She hugged me like always, said she missed me, told me she brought me back the cutest souvenir. I said nothing. I just smiled. I don't know how I managed that smile, but I wore it like armor. Later that night, as we unpacked her suitcase, I asked, "Did you have fun?" She smirked. "You jealous of all the tequila or the girls I was with?" I shrugged, just wondering if anything wild happened. That's when she got defensive. "Fast. Are you seriously doing this? You let me go. Don't turn into one of those guys now," I said. I saw something. Her face changed instantly, like a door slamming shut behind her eyes. "What do you mean, you saw something?" she asked, suddenly still. I told her about the messages. The video. She didn't ask which video, just paused, then muttered, "That's not what it looked like." She went through the entire cycle. Denial, gaslighting, blame. First it was, "That could have been anyone." Then, "You don't trust me." Then, "I was drunk and vulnerable, you weren't there." And finally, it was just a kiss. Okay? One stupid kiss. Nothing else. But I knew it wasn't just a kiss. The chat messages said otherwise. And the way she couldn't look me in the eye told me the truth before her mouth ever would. Said she panicked. Said she'd ruined everything. She begged me not to throw away what we had. I didn't scream. I didn't leave. I just said, "I need time to think." But I wasn't thinking about forgiving her. I was thinking about how to make sure the truth didn't die quietly, because I was done being the fool. I pretended to be processing things, but in truth, I was watching her. How she moved, how she lied so easily, how she played the victim with such practiced sincerity. I needed space to think, but not in the way she hoped. That Sunday, I drove to her parents' house alone. Her mom had always loved me, called me the rock Natalie never had. I told them I needed to talk. Just the two of them. They looked confused but concerned, ushered me into the living room. I sat down, clenched my hands together, and said it. Natalie cheated on me. Multiple times. On the Bachelorette trip, her mother went pale. Her dad just sighed and leaned back. I expected shock. I expected outrage. What I got was guilt. Her mom whispered, "We thought she'd changed." And in that moment, I realized this wasn't new to them. Her dad rubbed his temples. She did this with her ex, too. Slept with his best friend the week before their engagement party. We covered it up, said it was stress. Told him not to overreact. "She told us you were different," her mom added softly. "Said you calmed her." They hoped I'd fix her. I left their house feeling sick. I wasn't angry at them. I was angry at myself for ignoring the instincts that had been screaming at me for months. This wasn't a one-time mistake. It was a pattern, one she never paid the price for. And now I had two choices: walk away quietly like her last ex, or make sure this time she couldn't erase what she did. She'd betrayed me, lied to me, used me, but I still had one thing she didn't expect: control of the narrative. After that conversation with her parents, something in me hardened, not out of hate but clarity. She was used to getting away with it. Two people smoothing over her chaos so she could keep pretending to be the golden girl. This time, I wasn't going to be her cleanup crew. I was going to be her consequence, so I put on the best performance of my life. I told her I forgave her, that we could still make this work, that I loved her more than a mistake. Her eyes welled up. She threw her arms around me and whispered, "You won't regret this." But while she was busy planning the rehearsal dinner, I was planning the truth. I started gathering everything: the group chat screenshots, the video, the DMs. I backed up the files in 3 different places, including a USB drive I hid inside an old watch box under our bed. I labeled it Truth, just in case. I contacted my best man Drew and told him everything. He was livid, but when I laid out the plan, he didn't even blink. "Whatever you need," he said. "I've got you." We called the DJ, arranged the projector, slotted in the surprise video file, set the cues. Every time Natalie posted another bride-to-be selfie, I smiled. Every time she called me her future, I kissed her cheek. I played the role of the devoted fiancé so well. I almost started believing it myself, almost. But every time she laughed in her sleep or kissed me goodnight, all I saw was her in that video wrapped around a stranger, laughing like I didn't exist. And that image would be the last thing she ever saw before her fairy tale shattered. My bachelor party wasn't wild. It wasn't supposed to be. Just 10 of USMI's closest friends, some cousins, Drew. We rented a cabin by the lake, grilled steaks, played poker, smoked cigars under the stars. No strippers, no drama, just peace. But even there, I wasn't fully present. Around midnight, Drew pulled me aside. "You sure you want to go through with it?" he asked, holding a beer and looking more serious than I'd ever seen him. "This plan of yours? It's brutal." I looked at him for a long second. "You saw the video," I said. He nodded. "Yeah, but still. Public humiliation. It's a hell of a thing." I took a deep breath. She didn't think twice about humiliating me in private. So no, I'm not doing this out of spite. I'm doing it so people finally see who she really is. I'm done protecting someone who wouldn't flinch to destroy me. Drew didn't push further, just clinked his bottle against mine. Then let's make it clean. The next morning, we finalized everything. I gave him the USB. He'd hand it to the DJ at the exact moment right before the first dance. I even rehearsed the timing in my head. I didn't want to make a speech. I wanted the truth to speak for itself. Later that day, I stared at my reflection in the cabin's bathroom mirror. I looked like a man about to get married, but inside, I felt like a man digging a grave. Not for her, but for the illusion I'd spent a year trying to believe in. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't afraid. I was ready, because the next time she smiled in a white dress would be the last time she smiled at all. The day was surreal sunlight, cutting through stained glass like it was hand-painted just for us. People smelled like perfume and new cologne. Linen napkins whispered when guests shifted in their seats. Natalie moved with that practiced glow you see in bridal magazines, hair pinned just so, a smile that made strangers coo. I felt 1,000 eyes on us, but the thing that steadied me wasn't pride, it was the quiet weight in my pocket, the USB. Drew had slipped me that morning. The ceremony went like a dream people rewatch to feel safe. Vows, a kiss, applause. We processed into the reception under chandeliers that trembled with candlelight. I shook hands, laughed when people told me how beautiful the bride looked. My mouth tasted like metal. My palms were oddly clammy. I kept picturing the grainy nightclub video and telling myself the truth deserved its day. Then the first song ended and the DJ tapped the mic. "Up next," he said, voice smooth, a little surprise from the groom. I saw Drew's nod from across the room. My heart folded into itself the way paper does when you're done with it. The projector lit, the speakers hummed. Images rolled not, the curated slideshow of engagement photos, but screenshots, group chat messages, coy emojis. The lines where she bragged about saying goodbye to single life the right way. A hush fell like someone closing a book mid-sentence, and then the video dark club music muffled beneath the footage. There she was, laughing too loud, leaning into one guy, then another. The camera shook as someone filmed them leaving a booth, her lips close to a stranger's ear. Voices stuttered around me, gasps, a chair scraping, a fork dropped. Natalie's smile broke first. For the first time that night, she looked human, raw, exposed. Her father stood up so fast the chair legs scraped the floor. Her sister's hands shot to her face. Someone sobbed. Someone swore. The murmurs swelled into a wave that pushed against the walls. She didn't run immediately. She stood frozen, mascara bleeding like a flag of surrender. Then she bolted straight through the crowd. White dress fanning behind her like a torn sail. The room was full of noise, but my world had gone silent. I felt the USB like a lead weight in my pocket. My hand moved toward it on instinct. I could have spoken. I could have explained myself. Instead, I heard my own pulse, loud as a drum, and then nothing. Everything. After she ran, felt like a cold wave breaking over the whole room. I watched her disappear down the corridor. And then the reception dissolved into people talking over one another, accusations, frantic whispers. Phones held up like evidence. Her father yelled something I didn't catch. A bridesmaid collapsed into a chair and sobbed into her hands. My chest felt hollow, like the place where something used to live had been scooped out. For a moment I thought I'd feel vindicated, like the world finally understood, but all I felt was exhaustion so deep it tasted like rust. She came back into the hall 20 minutes later. Eyes swollen, dressed askew, voice thin. "Please," she begged, kneeling in front of her mother. "I can explain." Her father wouldn't look at her. Her sister folded into herself and shook her head. I stood in the background, watching the woman I promised my life to crumple into someone I didn't know. "This is humiliating," she hissed at me later when the room had emptied to a trickle of relatives. "You had no right." I didn't answer. My hands were trembling too much to form anything honest. Her friends called it a setup online within hours, tens of messages, screaming revenge porn, screenshots of the projector video, spreading like wildfire. People I barely knew texted, "What happened?" Vendors emailed about canceled payments and demanded deposits back. The caterer threatened a lawsuit. Someone posted the video. It loaded and reloaded like a wound. She called me through the night, begging, pleading, calling me cruel. I let it go to voicemail until the 7th call, then listened to her tearful apology. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking." Her voice was thin, almost foreign. I replayed the Miami footage in my head until the apology lost its edges. It sounded like background noise. By morning, everything had a paper-sharp edge. Her reputation was shredded. Her family fractured. My life anonymous in the crossfire. I packed a single bag while messages buzzed on my old phone, angry, confused, sympathetic. I left the USB in the old watch box and shut the drawer at the airport. I bought a one-way ticket to a city she'd never heard me mention. The security line smelled like perfume and sunscreen. I checked my phone one last time, then switched it off and dropped it into the bottom of my backpack. As I boarded the plane, my hands were steady. When the engines roared, I realized I hadn't cried at all. I had done what I set out to do. I had made the truth impossible to ignore, but leaving didn't feel like victory. It felt like walking out of a house that had burned down with people still inside. I fastened my seatbelt and watched the runway recede. And for the first time, I wasn't sure if disappearing would save me or bury me. I disappeared like I'd rehearsed it. No note, no explanation. Just silence. I rented a small apartment, 2 cities away, bare walls, a mattress on the floor, 1 mug, 1 plate. It felt like living inside an echo. I deleted every social media account, changed my number, even used a new name at work. Every sound, ringtone, car horn, knock made my stomach twist. The quiet was heavy, but it was mine. For weeks, I barely slept. Some nights, I'd wake up drenched in sweat, hearing her voice in my head. "You're the only man I've ever truly trusted." The same line she said the night I proposed. I'd stare at the ceiling until dawn, wondering how many times she'd said that line beforehand, how many after. Eventually, people stopped looking. My old friends texted less. My parents asked if I was okay, and I replied with half-truths. Yeah, just needed space. That's all I said. They didn't press. Maybe they knew space was just another word for survival. One night, months later, I was cleaning out my bag and found the USB again, the one labeled Truth, just in case. It felt strange in my hand, like a relic from a past life. I sat there for an hour, staring at it, thinking about what it represented. Proof, pain, and a chapter I no longer wanted to reread. I walked outside, barefoot, the ocean wind cutting through the quiet. There was a dumpster near the corner of the street. I opened my palm, looked at the drive one last time, and dropped it. The metallic clink sounded final. For the first time in months, I exhaled. No cameras, no witnesses, just me. I didn't need the evidence anymore. The world had seen enough. And I'd finally realized Di wasn't hiding from her. I was letting her ghost fade. It's been a year. The scars don't ache anymore. They just remind me where I stopped pretending. I live by the beach now. I rent a small studio above a coffee shop, the kind that smells like roasted beans and sea salt. Mornings start with quiet. No phone buzzing, no chaos, just the sound of waves breaking against the pier. The slow rhythm of peace I used to think I'd never earn. Sometimes, when I watch the sunrise, I think about the man I was back then, the one who believed loyalty could fix someone broken by choice. I pity him. He thought love was endurance. He thought forgiving was noble. He didn't know that sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is walk away. Natalie emailed me once. Subject line, closure. The message was short. She said she'd lost everything, friends, family, her job. She said she didn't expect forgiveness, just wanted me to know she'd changed. I read it once, then deleted it. No anger, no satisfaction, just nothing. People think revenge is fire and fury, but the truth, it's silence. It's moving on so quietly that the people who hurt you start questioning if they ever mattered. Sometimes strangers still message me online, saying they heard about the wedding video, that it was legendary, that I got justice. But I don't feel like a hero. I don't feel proud. I feel free. Her betrayal didn't destroy MIT, stripped me clean. Of illusions. Of weakness. Of the need to prove my worth to people who only saw it when it served them. So, when I lock the door each night and hear the ocean outside my window, I whisper the same thing I wish I'd known back then. You don't lose yourself when someone betrays you. You find the version of you they were never strong enough to meet. Fade out.